Mr. Chair, and I also want to thank the analysts for providing a really excellent briefing for this session, and also our officials who are here. I'm wondering how many Canadians are left in Cuba?
Mr. Chair, that's a good question. What I will defer to my colleague, but what I understand is that we have roughly 6,500 Canadians who are registered with ROCA, Registration of Canadians Abroad. As one of the members of the committee earlier stated, we understand that there's somewhere around 5,000 long-term Canadian residents in Cuba, but the exact number on the ground, it's I don't have that statistic at hand, but maybe Sebastien, I don't know if you have further to say on that.
I don't have any more information other than to validate those numbers and to indicate that it's difficult to very precisely assess the number of Canadians. But over the past 10 days or 2 weeks, Canadian airlines have helped the return of Canadians who had tickets or who wanted to return to Canada to do so over that period of about 10 days when there were special return operations led by Air Canada, WestJet, and Air Transat.
And thank you for that answer. And I apologize for not knowing this off the top of my head. Do Canadians need a visa to go to Cuba?
Thank you, Chair. My understanding is that no, they do not require a visa.
So, and do we have a full consular? Is there a full consular complement in Cuba right now?
Yes, there is, Mr. Chair. Yes, there is.
So if you're not completely sure how many, just this week we saw some unrest in Mexico that made Canadians who were on the ground vulnerable, and of course there were some technical issues with the registration system, and I'm wondering under the current circumstances whether or not you have any concerns that the Canadians who are in Cuba right now who you can't quite locate, whether or not there's a way to locate them if there is an escalation of the crisis.
Mr. Chair, my understanding based on comments that our minister made yesterday is that in fact our registration system is operating quite well and that we saw an uptick in the number of registrants, I think in the case of Mexico, although I'm not here to talk about Mexico, of something like 8,000 in one day. So the Government of Canada does not track Canadian citizens abroad actively, and so in fact we require on them to register with us so that we can provide them with assistance and information if there is a situation. That is the way that we have typically approached, and we're here. We do maintain a full consular complement in Cuba, and we are able to provide and more than willing and happy to provide assistance to Canadians who are in Cuba at this time and require help.
Given the, Cuba and Mexico are two of Canada's most popular vacation destinations, and given the sort of level of unrest that's occurring in the world, have you given any thought to some kind of registration system, some kind of mandatory registration system for Canadians who are traveling abroad?
Mr. Chair, that's certainly not an area of my expertise and not something that we have talked about or considered. To the best of my knowledge, I will defer to my colleague Sebastien, but my understanding is that we have in the past and we continue at this time to remain and to rely on Canadians to register with us, and that Canadians don't always want us as a government to be tracking where they're traveling abroad, including where they're going on holiday. But Sebastien.
Point d'ordre, Monsieur le Président. J'ai bien compris l'objectif.
Yes, if I've understood the reason we're meeting today is to talk about the humanitarian crisis in Cuba, and I think that my colleagues' questions aren't really in that vein. So I'll refer myself to you and defer myself, of course, to you, but I'd like to make sure that questions actually are about the humanitarian crisis.
This is for Canadians, so it is within the purview.
Thank you for that. And there has been, my understanding is that there was a period of significant consular drawdown in Cuba when some Canadian diplomatic staff were affected by some unexplained health incidents. I'm wondering whether or not, in the event of further civil unrest in Cuba, coinciding with a reduction in embassy staffing, whether there are agreements in place to provide emergency consular assistance were the two things to happen at the same time.
Mr. Chair.
A brief response because we're over time.
Okay, thank you. At this point in time, we don't foresee a drawdown due to the situation at hand. Obviously, there are conversations that we are ongoing. Just like every other organization on the ground, our embassy is experiencing firsthand fuel shortages. And so to sustain operations and ensure the well-being of our people in case the situation continues to decline, we are having conversations about our duty of care and planning for that. But at this point in time, we don't foresee an active drawdown, and we plan to continue to maintain our consular people on the ground. And I would say we have Sebastian's excellent team here in Ottawa that also are able to provide assistance to Canadians in need wherever they are in the world.
Thank you very much. To complete the round, we go to MP 14.